Your family members will often be your first teachers about jealousy. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. In keeping with the topic of jealousy, which is very popular here, I have a commenter who says, I had a cousin send me a screenshot of her matching with a guy that I used to talk to on Tinder. Needless to say, neither of them are in my life anymore. I think this is a perfect example of two things. One, people who struggle with jealousy and insecurity, trying to bring that out in you. So here's a woman that may peacock around her prize that she won in an attempt to show you that she is a better person, a better woman, or that she was chosen over you and therefore she's better somehow. And number two, how family a lot of times can be our first teachers of jealousy. That can be our first experience with jealousy and envy. And I've had, quite a few of you in my comments that have talked about, family and, my family were jealous people. And that could be one of the main reasons that some people don't experience it. It could work either way, honestly. It could work either way in that family influences you to also be jealous, but it can also be a strong deterrent for people not to experience jealousy. When you have family members that are so toxic, that are so highly competitive with each other, that could be a deterrent for you to never want to experience this. Never experience this, never want this in your life, and to just really move around and get away from it because, it's such a culture shock to you. It's toxic. You grew up in that, and that's not something that, where you saw family members fighting, competing, putting each other down, underhanding each other, bullying each other. I don't necessarily need to see that or experience that in my adulthood. If family members were public enemy number one, your first bully, you've had all the experience with jealousy that you need. It could also be one of the reasons why it becomes normal to have people around you that struggle with jealousy and envy as well. So family dynamics, I think, plays a huge part in that. And this isn't always, and there are certainly exceptions before anybody comes out with something. So there are exceptions, but most of the time, your family members are your biggest teachers when it comes to jealousy. The other thing may be friends, colleagues, and coworkers. Again, this just may be sort of a natural gravitation where it seems normalized almost even, where it's like, I've seen people go, bonkers over the littlest things, and it becomes even more of a deterrent to want to stay away from that. People who are going to have the most trouble with their family are the ones that are enmeshed, meaning that you're very much a part of their world and they're very much a part of your world, and there's no individuation, there is no autonomy. So we all just expect to be a part of every aspect of each other's lives, and where people are very intrusive, there's a lack of boundaries. There is you are there's an expectation that you have to be complacent and compliant and respect meaning you need to bow down to those who have more power or authority to you, and that you never get out of that. That is typically people who are going to have the most trouble with that. People who also normalize that and say, well, that's just my mama, or that's just my sister, and that's family, and who actually resign themselves to dealing with that. Those are people who are going to have the most challenges. In order to break away with that and say, break away from that, a lot of times you have to really enforce strict boundaries. You may have to go no contact or low contact, but communication needs to be effective and clear. But what you will typically struggle with, especially if they never do any work around that, is people who still continue to feel entitled and will continue to force your hand when it comes to boundaries, because that's just who they are. And they won't feel anything about it. They won't feel sorry. They won't feel the need to change and things of that nature. So if your family is your first teacher of jealousy and envy, one, I'm sorry for that. But two, again, it could be a deterrent. And, this could come up in a number of ways too. It doesn't have to necessarily be stealing your boyfriend or anything like that. It could also be like triangulating, the children against each other in Black families. I think triangulation can occur when it comes to things like colorism and things like that, or who's the better sibling, who's the sibling that I'm going to love more or bail out more, or the child that can never do no wrong, and playing favorites essentially. So there is that. You can have it where if you and it could be down to something small. If you have some clothes or something in your closet or some makeup that looks nice, and it looks really good and it was expensive and you got it, and I want it because I saw people complimenting you on it. I'm going to go in your room and I'm going to take it, and I might lie about it, but I feel like it's my God-given right to go in and take it because I saw it and I want it, and you're my sister, and I think it looks better. I think whatever it is that I took from you looks better on me. Other ways it can show up is if you're doing well in life, you're successful, and people are very condescending towards your success. I think Monique said it best, and she got your degree and everything. That could be an aspect of that jealousy and envy, and where there's this competition. If you got married, you had kids, well, now I'm going to get married and have kids too. Or if you have gotten some attention, I'm going to try and outdo you in getting attention. So I may be a little bit more provocative, a little bit more flirty and in people's faces and things like that. Or I may just attack you. I may just sort of cut you at the white meat and be condescending, be downright mean, be abusive to you, and try to sabotage you in a number of ways. I might try to sabotage your relationships. I might try to sabotage your career, and I just might try to sabotage you just in general as a person by attacking your self-worth and your self-esteem. Another way that people in the family can do this is by not showing up. They could just be absent. So I'm not coming to your graduation. I'm not coming to your wedding or your special occasion. Or if they do come, what they'll do is they'll get there and they'll show their ass and act up and get drunk and start a fight and have all this melee going and, ruin everything. But lack of support is one way that people in the family may do this. Lack of funding for your dreams, where they may, fund one child, fund their entire future, but give the other child nothing. So this happens in a number of ways. This could be parents doing this to their children, parents doing that to each other. Children, triangulating the children to bring this out. So there's a number of ways that jealousy can invoke itself within the family. Thanks so much for sharing this comment, and I hope this helps. It's not comprehensive, of course. This is a 10-minute video. I think that should go without saying. Take care.